Hey, what's up, TikTok? What's up, IG? I'm hoping that y'all are doing well today. I got a special live stream that I'm about to get into why most men feel unseen in their relationships. So just give me 1 second as I get ready to hop on into this. This is definitely going to be a good one. I'm glad that y'all are tuning in again. I'm talking about why most men feel unseen in their relationship. Hey, what up, YouTube? What up, Blamily? I'm glad that y'all are in the house. I'm here to again, touch on something and talk about a topic that I know that many of us will get extreme value from. And so, IG, I'm glad that y'all have shown up. TikTok, I'm glad that y'all are in the room too. Before I get started, just in case you have not heard, tomorrow I'm kicking off a Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge. Yes, I am. Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge. So if you have not registered over here on IG, comment Husband Challenge. Or you can go to becomeabetterhusband.com. TikTok, same thing. Comment Husband Challenge or go to becomeabetterhusband.com. Blamily, y'all in the house. I'm glad that y'all are here. And YouTube, same thing for you. Go to becomeabetterhusband.com. It's going to be 5 days of fire. 5 days of fire, focus, and fulfillment too. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. And what's going down this week, but also to what we're about to do right now. So it's really interesting. Let me just go ahead and set the stage. For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Ayize Ma'at, co-founder of Black Love and Marriage. My wife and I, we've been together for 29 years, married for 22. We got experience out in these relationship streets. And so, as I always say, we're not new to this. We true to this. And so when it comes to doing the work, not only do we apply the things that we talk about in our relationship, but we also help a community of folks do the same thing. And so I'm looking at a screen with some of our Blamily right now. That's who we call our community, affectionately the Blamily. And they be leaning in every day, all day, doing their work. And so I'm excited that I got them on here. I'm hoping that I will be able to bring some of them forward to be able to share some perspectives, specifically men. You ain't got to be talking about your wife. You ain't got to be talking about your situation. But I do think that because you are a man, it would be good to hear from you as I go through these points. So the way that this is going to go down, y'all, I'm going to lift up several points, 5 specifically, 5 ways that I know that men feel unseen in a relationship. And real talk, there's ways in which women contribute to men not feeling seen. That's just the truth. And so, I'm hoping that, again, ladies, y'all are listening, y'all are paying attention. Y'all are open to honest conversation, feedback. And if you happen to hear from your man, again, he ain't got to be talking about you, but he might just be talking about you. But he ain't got to be talking about you. Again, it's universal. I just came from I conducted a King Me retreat in Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. And the brothers got together, and you would be amazed and surprised at how similar the stories be when it comes to men feeling the way that they feel. And so, I'm loving the fact that I got men on here. Hopefully, like I said, they'll be willing to share and co-sign some of these things that I'm lifting up, or even add their 2 cents in terms of where they at with it. And if you just hopping on again, this is reasons why men feel unseen in their relationship. And for the men who are on here, I have a Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge happening this upcoming week. So either comment Husband Challenge on IG, TikTok, or YouTube, or go to becomeabetterhusband.com. Let me go ahead and hop right into it, y'all. So I put a post out last week, and it's no surprise, but a lot of times when I'm putting out posts, specifically as related to this coming challenge, the Become a Better Husband Challenge, I get a lot of comments from dudes. And it's probably some of y'all on here right now listening like, what is Ayize going to be talking about? What is he saying? He's simping. He's doing all of this type of stuff. So I hear this stuff all the time. So it doesn't surprise me, but what does, I wouldn't even say it surprises me, but what bothers me, what agitates me is the fact that, if you don't really follow me, then you can make certain assumptions about the fact that I'm just talking to dudes and that I'm not also holding women accountable as well. And so my wife and I, again, we lean into men, we lean into women, we hold both genders accountable. And we do that because we recognize that ain't nobody perfect in their relationship. Men got stuff that they need to focus on. women have stuff that they need to focus on as well too. And so when I saw the comments coming based off of me talking about this challenge and your wife gonna leave you because you ain't doing X, Y, and Z, and a lot of the dudes was talking about like, why you always coming hard for the men? Why you doing this? Why you talking about the men? I said, you know what? Because they ain't paying attention to the rest of the stuff, let me go ahead and do this one right here, just so they can hear. And I'm not even coming for the women, but I'm just lifting up some things that I want the women to pay attention to. So for the fellas that be whining, complaining, crying, bitching about me not talking to the women, this is for you. This is for you. All right? I'm making it plain. This is for you. And so, you know, I want you to see and pay attention to that. That, you know, we all hold responsibility. And I'm all about equal opportunity accountability up in these streets. And so the first thing that I want to lift up, y'all, is this. That when it comes to doing this work, one of the things that I've noticed is that, you know, a lot of times we as men, and again, I'm talking about why men feel unseen in their relationship. If you're married, if you got a husband, you know, yeah, you need to pay attention. But one of the things that I want to lift up is that, you know, when it comes to men being in a relationship, like nobody's really talking about men and their emotional needs. You know, we're not necessarily making room and giving permission for men to dive into emotionality, and what I mean by that is emotional expression, you know, really feeling your feelings. And so, you know, the most challenging piece about that is that a number of men really be suffering in silence. Like, men have feelings, y'all. We do. We got feelings. Men have feelings. And a number of us suffer in silence because, you know, many of us weren't raised to even name our emotions or needs. We weren't taught to, you know, identify our feelings. We weren't taught to necessarily express what our needs were. We may act out, which is an indication that there's an unmet need. But in terms of verbally expressing, we're not necessarily taught that. You know, we were trained and taught to provide, protect, and fundamentally keep it moving, keep it pushing, keep it P. That's how we were taught. That's how we were raised, many of us. And even if it wasn't directly expressed to us, it was demonstrated to us by our uncles, by our father, by our older brothers, by even the homies in the neighborhood. And so when you know, you experience something that feels off in your relationship, what we as men have had the tendency of doing is internalizing it, sitting with it, suffering in silence, self-isolating, and then eventually going numb. We don't feel no more. You know, we're just moving. We going through the motions. I know so many dudes, like they almost feel like they're robots, moving on autopilot, mechanically negotiating and navigating their relationship. Feeling unseen because, number one, they can't express, they can't get in touch with, they can't identify. They weren't taught to really sit with and express what those emotions are. And so they sit in silence. It's a number of men like that. And that's a painful place to be in, y'all. A really painful place to be in. And it's one thing when you know where the hurt is. You can address it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can put some Bengay. You can wrap it up. You can put some tape on it. You know, you can do those things to address the spot that you know you're feeling the isolated pain in. But what if it's a situation when it's internal? When it's involving emotions and we can't even identify what the emotions are? What do we do with that? What do we do with that? And so we know we got something going on. But what happens is that it's hard for us to articulate and express what we got going on. And this is how women unwittingly and unknowingly add to the damage. Yes, ladies, y'all do. Y'all add to the damage because you dismiss the feelings. And culturally, you've been conditioned with this ideology and this framework that he's a man. He's a dude. He'll be all good. Tell me if I'm lying. Like, there's an expectation that men will keep it pushing. There's an expectation that men will be good. There's an expectation that men will be fixers. But what's a fixer if he can't get in touch with his feelings? He's just fulfilling a need. He's fulfilling a service. He's fulfilling a job. He's fulfilling an obligation. But what about his feelings? Another way in which women, like, unknowingly sometimes add to the damage is you expect him to read your emotions while he ignores and dismisses his own. So he don't know what he got going on internally within him. And again, I'm talking about emotional needs right now. He doesn't know what he has going on internally, but you want him to be able to identify yours, to read you, to identify and understand what you got going on. And he's ignoring what he has going on because he don't even understand what the hell is happening. That's a rough space to be in. And then catch this. Another way when it comes to this emotional piece that women, I mean, I'm going to say unknowingly, but some of y'all know. Some of y'all know. A way in which women unknowingly add to the damage when it comes to him being able to express his emotional needs is y'all be on that band tip. Yes, that BAN tip. Some of y'all, like, y'all mock and y'all minimize his vulnerability. Y'all make it appear as though it's like a sign of weakness. And so, you know, I mean, BAN, y'all know what that stands for. And so I know men who have been called that. When there's any level of emotionality that's been presented, when there's any level of sensitivity that's been demonstrated, that BAN thing be popping up. And it ain't got to be that extreme, but you might just mock, you might just laugh, you might snicker, you might make comments like, oh, you want to be sensitive now. Oh, you got feelings now. Mocking his vulnerability. That right there is ammunition aimed directly at his heart and impedes his willingness and his ability to be vulnerable. Ladies, y'all got to stop that. That's out of order. And again, it may not be as extreme. Most people won't cop to that. Some of y'all will. But the reality is that, again, if you don't make room for the emotionality, for the vulnerability, if you don't create the safe space for him to be able to express, then what happens is that he just shuts down. He don't show it to you. And he ends up suffering in silence. The truth of the matter is that a man can't grow where he don't feel safe. And if he doesn't feel safe with you, guess what's going to happen? He's going to stop trying altogether. He's going to throw in the towel. I've seen it. I've seen it happen over and over and over. And he's going to stop. He's going to throw in the towel. Because he don't feel safe with you. And then you're going to be wondering why he ain't do his work. Why he's unwilling to reconnect. Why he's unwilling to invest in a relationship. Again, this emotion piece is so important. That's point number one. I got 5 points I want to talk about, fellas. Specifically to Blamely. Like, if you got something that you want to say on this, men's emotional needs not being met leads to men suffering in silence. Feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you forward. You can talk about that piece. You may have experienced something in your relationship where you felt like your emotional needs weren't met, or you may know of some men who have expressed something similar, who got something that they want to say, but don't feel comfortable saying it because they don't feel like it's a safe space to be able to express what they got going on internally. Again, point number one is around his emotional needs. Point number one. And again, Blamely, if y'all got something, specifically the fellas, if you got something that you want to chime in and say, I'll bring you forward. We on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And so you got an opportunity to speak your piece, share your voice, add to the conversation. I'm sure the women, they don't want to just hear me. They want to hear y'all too. Point number two, y'all, in terms of why men feel unseen. And again, I mentioned at the top of this, I got the Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge happening this upcoming week. Go to becomeabetterhusband.com or comment or DM husband challenge in the comments on IG and TikTok and YouTube. And I'll shoot you an invite. And so point number two, y'all, when it comes to the reasons why, why men specifically don't feel seen, why they feel unseen in their relationship is that culture has taught us to stay quiet and to push through. We as men, like, we got to push through. We gotta put our heads down and grind. You know, we gotta keep it pushing. We gotta keep it P. We gotta, hold in our feelings. And so we as men, in many instances, have grown up with a warped version of masculinity. I be saying all the time, like, slow down. You ain't gotta do everything. You don't gotta do everything. I got people on IG saying, ain't nobody gonna come up. I want to hear this. They calling y'all out on IG. But if you want to say something specifically to fellas, if you want to add to the conversation, they say, I want to hear what the fellas got to say. But yeah, so in terms of the culture, like, there's a warped version of masculinity. This idea of, like, men don't have space to cry. Men don't have space to show vulnerability. There's no room for fear. And when it comes to us being men, like, many times, and I really challenge y'all to ask yourself this question, do you have any models for emotional leadership? What models do you have for emotional leadership that are men? And so we got models when it comes to sports. Some of y'all just probably finished watching Connecticut handle their business. We got models when it comes to business. We got models when it comes to work. But what models do we have when it comes to emotionality? Ask yourself the question. I mean, real talk, the models that we have really revolve around us working harder. And when things don't go our way, again, we suffer in silence. We embrace the idea of quietude. And we push through pain. This is what we do. And so what we got to do is disrupt that and dismantle that by actually leaning into the reality that emotions aren't a negative thing. They're not a bad thing. I'm going to be talking about this week. Talking about that this week in terms of the importance of emotions and honoring and owning what it is that you feel. But sometimes what happens is that women can make this whole situation worse in terms of us getting caught up in the culture piece and even if we experience some level of childhood trauma, sometimes women shame us when we don't open up. And I mentioned a moment ago the verbiage around, like, you sensitive, you sound weak right now, like you BAN, like stuff like that. And y'all might think that it's far left for me to be expressing this stuff, but it's not. Like, this stuff is real. It happens all the time. And so how do I know? It's because my wife and I, we work with men, we work with couples. And so we hear the real conversations. And unfortunately, like, when this stuff is happening, the man is slowly shrinking. Slowly losing belief, slowly losing confidence. And that's not where you want your man to be. So again, you want to make sure that you're being careful because you may not even be realizing it. And so sometimes, ladies, what y'all do is y'all expect him to be emotionally present and don't give space for him to figure it out. Yo. This right here, I actually had to converse with my wife a number of times about this. Like, slow down, baby. Because she want to answer right now. And some of y'all ladies, y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, y'all want the answer immediately. Y'all want the response right now. Y'all want to know how we feel in this moment. I don't know. I don't know what I feel. I feel fucked up. I know that much. I don't feel like right. I don't feel like myself. But again, we as men have not been taught to use words, emotion words. Y'all see this right here? We ain't been taught this. This is the emotions wheel. We have not been taught this. And so when you're asking us these questions, you want it right now. Again, we're trying to fumble through, and you're not really necessarily giving us space to figure it out. And so what does giving us space to figure out mean? What it means is that it might not be right now where I'm able to identify it. It might take a few hours. It might take a day. And here's the important piece, y'all. Fellas, this is for you. That if you do need space and time to figure it out, and your woman has blessed you with that opportunity, then what you need to do is to make sure you double back. Make sure you double back. That's your responsibility. It's an important conversation to have, but make sure you double back, when it comes to you expressing your piece. And here's another piece, y'all. What you mean you don't know? Shaking my head. That's crazy to me that what I get from my child, I don't know response. Yeah, I don't know. They say, what you mean I don't know? It's a real thing. It's a real thing. We try and figure it out. And here's another space that women may have challenges in when it comes to, you call him out for his lack of emotional availability, but you never ask. You never ask, how might you be emotionally unsafe? Where's the self-assessment? Where is the introspection? I mean, where do you ask yourself, how might you be emotionally unsafe? So you will call him out for being emotionally unavailable, but you won't call yourself out and ask how you might be emotionally unsafe. I mean, the truth of the matter is that when it comes to this emotions piece, y'all, as I mentioned, we ain't taught this. I mean, if you're in Blam, you're taught it. But generally speaking, growing up, we're not exposed to this. We're not taught this. We're taught that doing this right here makes you soft. Identifying your feelings and emotions make you weak. Make you a victim. Put you in a vulnerable space where you could be taken advantage of. And we can't do this. And so what happens is that we, as men in many instances, emotionally, we're underdeveloped, specifically as it pertains to identifying what these emotions are. However, we're not emotionally unwilling. And I got evidence of that based on the people that I'm looking at the screen right now. The names that I see on my screen are members of the Blamily, and they try and figure it out. And so dudes want to lean into it. I see it all day, every day. I see the intentionality. I see the ownership, and I see the acknowledgement when it comes to not really knowing what the feelings are, not knowing how to express our thoughts, not knowing how to own what it is that's going on internally. But I also see a willingness to. I see a willingness to do the work and to try to figure it out. But the truth of the matter is that this constant criticism, what it does is it kills our own curiosity and it kills our growth. We lose motivation. We lose motivation. Man, I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard dudes express to me very clearly that it's her words that have boxed me in. It's her words that have got me losing my belief in myself. It's her words that are challenging me to the degree in which I even question whether or not I want to be here. Women, your words are powerful. What you say, how you show up, it has an impact. And so when it comes to this whole piece around emotionality, when we're talking about culture, y'all are a part of the culture too. And so as much as patriarchy is oftentimes tied to men and how we show up, you all operate in this system as well. And so there's certain spoken and unspoken expectations that go along with that from you all when it comes to men. What you want men to do. How you want men to show up. How you want men to talk. How you want men to walk. How you want men to express themselves. And so we got to make room to be able to have that type of conversation. And so, this culture piece is real, y'all. It's definitely real. And when we're unable to own it, when we're unable to recognize that it has an impact and influence, then we find ourselves stuck in the same space and your man continues to be unseen. That's point number 2, y'all. Blamley, if you got something that you want to say on that piece right there, I want to ask y'all specifically, and somebody, if you want to raise your hand and speak your piece, but I want to ask y'all, whether or not this whole piece around emotions, identifying emotions, if you were taught to get in touch with your emotions, express your emotions, identify your emotions when you were growing up, and what impact has that had in your relationship? Anybody want to share? Any of the Blam men want to share how your upbringing may have impacted the way in which you move with your emotions and whether or not you express it or don't express it. Any takers? Anybody want to talk? Want to say something around this piece? All right, I got two fellas. I'm assuming that's Curtis, along with Joseph. Joseph, go ahead. It's on you, bro. Hey, what's up, Joseph?
So, I didn't really grow up. I mean, my pops, he would come and, snatch us up when he could and take us down and go visit. But inside the household, man, I never really saw my dad be very affectionate with my mom, and not even really knowing how to communicate, how to fight fair, how to manage conflict, how to resolve conflict. It was just stuff that was kind of done behind the scenes, and just other than just growing up and just watching how people move and groove out here, it wasn't really shown in the household, unfortunately. And on my second marriage now, and just going through with Blam, it's like you mentioned that emotion wheel, man. It takes on a whole different meaning of being able to unlock some things that you had kept up for a while and not knowing how to express it. So yeah, it's just man.
Yeah, I appreciate
it's
you
a lot.
sharing. Yeah,
it's a lot to deal with.
It is, and so y'all hearing it from a brother that's saying that there's a lot to deal with, and I appreciate you lifting that up, Joseph. I'm assuming it's you, Curtis. I see your wife's name on the screen, but I'm assuming it's you, bro.
Yeah, that's me.
Hey.
You speaking the truth, man. Growing up in a family where my no father was present, so and you just everything you got basically from your mom, and your mom, you don't get emotional, you don't be, pardon my French, but you don't be bitchy. You can't cry. You can't show that emotional side of you. You got to keep that hidden because that's not becoming of a man. So you learn how to keep that in, to tuck that away. But when you get married and you start dealing, and then your wife start looking for these emotionals, and you can't produce them. You don't know what to do. It's almost like you in a game and you don't know what the next move is, because you don't know how to bring the emotionals out. You hit what she's saying, and you gotta feel what she's looking for, but you don't know how to give that. You've never done that before, so that becomes a problem. Then she gets frustrated because you're not bringing that out. And you mentioned something else, hide, because I'm so far behind in that area. It would take me a long time to begin to open up and share those deep emotional feelings with her. That's just not something that we was taught to do.
That's good, bro. Thank you for sharing that. We behind, underdeveloped, and we try and figure it out. And again, it's not everybody, so I don't want to generalize and say all men are like this, because we all grew up in different households. But you'll hear this story over and over and over again. Like, it's very common. Anthony, it's on you, bro.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey.
For me, I grew up most of my life with my dad not being around. He was actually gone when I was about 2. From the little time that I do remember him being around, it was a household of tension and domestic violence, and constant argument, and, just do what I say. And if we cried around him, he would say something like, be a big boy, stop crying, and then he would move on to something else. So we got used to not crying around him at a very young age. And to be honest with you, the only opportunity that I ever had to really get in touch with my feelings in general was when I started college. When I started my master's degree program, because it was in counseling. And before we really were allowed to dive in and work with clients, they made us dive into ourselves. And they put us through several exercises and homework exercises that forced us to take a deep dive into our personality. And I remember the first couple of assignments, we had about a good 12 to 18 people in my class, and we went through one exercise, and just about everybody in the room was in tears, because it was the first time that they forced us to really get in touch with our feelings, emotions, and, bent up frustration from our past. But grad school was the first time that I was pretty much forced to get in touch with my feelings before I could move on and learn how to counsel other people. But before that, it didn't happen because my father was not around, and my mom had to hold it down for both me and my brother, and the only thing we saw from her was frustration because she was handling things on her own. Not frustration at us, but just frustration in general because she was holding it down by herself. And thank God for my uncles who were our surrogate dads. That's the only type of male figure we got. Those are the only type of male figures we got used to being around. But they weren't around us long enough. They came by every weekend just to check on us, but they had their own family. So it wasn't like they had that in-depth conversations with us on emotions or how to react to certain things.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony, for sharing that and being transparent about your situation growing up. Definitely appreciate that, bro. Again, this is a common story. Some of y'all on IG and TikTok have heard this before, not from this brother in particular, but have heard this story. This may even be your story. And I see Nick T. Cole, you said, talking to you, Curtis, they said, Curtis, that makes me feel so sad for you. As a mom of sons, I hope I've provided a safe space for my sons to cry, express their feelings around me as the woman in their life. And I appreciate you lifting that piece up. And again, this is all about ownership and accountability and just taking self-inventory. And so when it comes to emotionality, expressing thoughts and feelings and being yourself and making room for a man to be in the fullness of what it means to be a man, not just around this whole provision piece, then this is when you get to a place of better connection and greater intimacy in a relationship. And I see a question over here on IG. Okay, so how do we get you to start expressing, and how long do I got to wait before I throw in the towel? Let me just say this, that you're asking me the question, and so I'm going to respond. If this question was asked within the context of a session, it would be a different response because it's, to me, what it's pointing to is you looking at the end before you looking at being present. And so being present speaks to, I'm going to ask the question because I really want to know you, not because I'm trying to figure out like how many times do I got to do it in order to be connected in with you to be able to get you to express your thoughts and feelings. I'm going to figure it out. So however long it takes, that's what I'm going to do to try to figure it out. And so when I, as a man, feel like you're going to be present with me in that process, then what it feels like to me is that it's a safe space instead of you rushing me to an end. And so I'm respectfully lifting that piece up right there, that again, you got to create the safe space for him to be able to express his thoughts and feelings. And let me concretize it even more. My wife will often lead with, questions or affirming statements or words of affection when it's something that's uncomfortable or awkward that she's going to lift up. She actually did it today, y'all. She actually did it today. She said, baby, I know how you feel. I know you're not going to be necessarily feeling what I'm about to say, but just hear me out. And what I ask that you do is to think about it and then come back to me a little bit later. It would mean so much to me if you at least took it into consideration and then double back when you're ready to have a conversation about it. This happened today. And so what happens in that moment? Number one, she's making room for me. She's creating a safe space for me to be able to process and to respond and to get back to her when I'm ready to get back to her. Number two, she's acknowledging my discomfort. So she's paying attention to me to a degree in which, like, she has a feeling for where I am mentally and emotionally, which allows me to know that she sees me. She sees me. And I can't do nothing but respect that. And so I feel like I'm being considered in that process. And I also feel like room is being made for me to process in my own time to be able to come back to her to connect in with her. So that happened today, y'all. That happened today. I appreciate the fellas for lifting up what y'all lifted up. Let me move on to point number 3. This one right here is another good one. Again, if you're just hopping on here, I got a Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge happening this upcoming week. Comment or DM the word husband challenge or go to becomeabetterhusband.com. And, I want to see you in the room, fellas. All right, number 3. This right here sometimes leads men to being, or at least feeling, unseen in a relationship because we think that being a good man automatically makes you a good husband. We think that, again, being a good man automatically makes you a good husband. And so how does that manifest in a relationship? So it's a lot of dudes out here that work hard, that handle their business, stay faithful, and really have love for their families. And some of these men still feel like they're coming up short and failing in their marriage. Now, here's the piece. When you are doing all of this stuff and there's still an absence of emotional presence, then it can feel like for you that there's still a disconnect. There's still a vulnerability in your life and in the relationship. And so, sometimes men feel unseen because we have been conditioned to think that provision is what's required as a husband exclusively. Exclusively. I was looking at a comment on one of our reels earlier today, and one of the dudes said, women gonna be unhappy, period. They said, who they say? They said Steph Curry make $50 million, and his wife, she expressed that she was unhappy. LeBron James made X number of dollars, and his wife expressed that she unhappy. Jeff Bezos, he got a divorce and he made X number of dollars, and his wife was unhappy. And so no matter how much you make, your wife gonna be unhappy. So don't get married. That was the sentiment. That's what the dude said. He said, don't get married. And so, again, some men feel like that. But I know a different story. I've experienced a different reality. And what I challenge men to do is level up when it comes to just thinking that provision is the only way in which you can actually show up in your relationship and add value. It's more than just that, y'all. But this is where sometimes the disconnect comes into place, specifically how women can contribute to it. Sometimes women equate provision with obligation, and there's no appreciation attached to it. Like, we as men, if we out here busting our ass, doing the things that we do, making sure that we provide, we at least want some level of appreciation for that. Some acknowledgement, some appreciation. And so when that's not there, then there's a certain level of emptiness, and you feel like, yo, do you see me? Do you respect me? Do you value me? And another way in which this comes into play is because women sometimes focus on what's missing. And she has a hard time affirming what's actually there. Like, what you got going on is good. And so I've worked with women specifically that have a number of things that have been taken care of, a number of ways in which the man is showing up and ensuring that the family is provided for, and also attempting to make sure that the children are squared away and that type of thing. And so they're actually applying themselves in a relationship. They're doing the things, maybe not doing all of the things, but they're doing the things, and the women are focusing on the things that they're not doing. Some of y'all are guilty of this. Some of y'all are guilty of this. Like, I mean, I've heard women say, and my wife has actually expressed this, like, what, you want a cookie? You want a cookie because you do this? This is what you're supposed to do. Again, you equate provision with obligation instead of appreciation. And so you'll realize how important appreciation is when that ain't there no more. When he's no longer doing that. When he makes the decision to stop. You'll understand. And so I challenge the ladies to focus on, like, what's happening, what's positive. There's something that's called a reticular activating system. Some of y'all are aware of this based off of, like, and you've experienced it before. You know how you might go out and buy a car. Once you purchase the car, your mind is focused on the car. You see the car, you love the car. And then you end up, when you start driving, you start to see the car more and more and more and more. It's not that the car has not always been on the road riding around you, but it's the reticular activating system that's kicked in based off of you purchasing it and you now valuing it. And so your mind is fixed on that thing. And so when it comes to negativity in your life, it works in the same way. When it comes to negativity in your relationship, it works in the same way. Like, if you keep on focusing on what's missing, you're going to keep on missing your man. If you start to affirm what's there, then that right there actually may motivate him to do more. Women also have a challenge when it comes to comparing him to other men who do more. That's a no-no, y'all. You don't want to do that. Especially considering the fact that you don't see the full picture. You know what I'm saying? And dudes are real hip to this too. Like, you know, you don't know him. How you going, like, you comparing me to him, but you don't know him? And even if you did know him, I'm my own man, and I want you to affirm the value that I bring in your life. You know, and women have a challenge when it comes to this piece. And so if you find yourself in this space, then you want to make sure that you're at least acknowledging it and then doing something different so you're not alienating him and then pushing him away. When a dude feels like nothing he has done is ever enough, then eventually he stops trying. If he feels like what he's done is never enough, then eventually he stops trying. Chew on that for a second. So what's your responsibility? It's to affirm him. It's to acknowledge what's being done. It's to big up him. It's to applaud him. I don't know if any of the blamingly want to speak on that piece right there. Like, if any of y'all have had this experience, whether it's in a past relationship or even in your current relationship, like if you want to talk to the fact, the importance, how important is it to you to hear affirmation from your wife? Anybody want to speak on that piece? How important is it for you to be able to hear affirming words from your wife? You need to blamely want to speak on that. And y'all might be like, nah, I mean, it's, and I know dudes have also been conditioned to be like, we good, we don't need that. But when you hear it, let me tell you this. My wife, she left me a banging message when I just did this King Me retreat. She left me a banging message on my voicemail before it kicked off. I was actually on the plane, so I didn't hear it. But when I landed, I wish I had it up. I would actually play it for y'all. She was straight speaking life, affirming me, like gassing me up. I felt like I could run through a brick wall. You know, it's so empowering. It's so liberating. It's so freeing. It's so elevating. And that's what we want to feel. We want to feel appreciated for what it is that we do. We want to feel acknowledged. We want to feel like, yo, you understand and you get it. I'm going to go to Sonny and then Curtis. Sonny, it's on you, bro.
Man, yeah, me and Lisa have had this ongoing, and I've expressed to her that, you know, there's guys that don't need it. They say, well, I don't need all that. You know, I can just go to work, make the money, this and that. But what I've learned over the years with Lisa is there's different buckets. I provided and thought, you know, from my dad that was cool. You know, I'm providing, you know what I'm saying? If you need me for the backup or whatever, this and that, that's good. I'm good. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm showing up. I'm a good man. You know, I always wanted to say I'm a good man because I was providing, but it was like I was in one lane. And learning through Lisa, there's like 5 other buckets, 5 other lanes that she's looking for me to show up in. And I'm like, what you want me over here for? I'm doing this. After a while, I started really understanding it because it goes both ways in different things. There's areas where I'm better and I'm wanting her to hurry up and get there. And then when I started looking at it through that lens, like, you know, if I'm talking football to her and she can't keep up and I want her to rush, then that's how it feels on the other, you know what I'm saying? When the shoe's on the other foot. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're good at something, it's easy to say, let's hurry up. Let's get to it. Answer the question right now. But what about when you're not?
Yeah.
So through Lisa just being, you know, graceful and kind of showing me in a way through other avenues, I started understanding and being able to cycle back and kick back to some of the other areas where I wasn't as graceful to her. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, where I was asking for stuff and it's like, okay, well, it's kind of how I be feeling on this. Mm-hmm. And not in a mean way, but once I started kind of looking at it like, you know, it's a yin and a yang to everything, you know, let me fall back. Let me really look at this thing big picture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what really helped me was just that grace in the communication really, really helped. And then the affirmations were big because a lot of times that's how she would get me to that point where I was able to hear her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's real. I appreciate you sharing that, bro. Yeah, that's Coach Sonny right there, dropping it. Yeah, dropping that wisdom, dropping that knowledge. You know, that's what's up, bro. Curtis, it's on you.
I think most of us, not all of us, most of us believe that the man's primary duty is to provide, to be the provider for the home. Most of them do. There's a difference between a want and a need. He needs to know that you appreciate what he's doing. That's not a want. If he don't get that, I promise you, he's going to begin to fall short in a lot of areas because he's not getting what he needs. Now, the wants, that's a different story. He may want this, he may want that, and you don't have to provide that. But the things that he is doing, particularly in the area of providing, he needs to know that you appreciate, that he's appreciated because when I was working a job, you go to that job every morning, you put up with a lot of stuff. And you just can't walk off that job because you got a family and you got kids. You know, if you didn't have that, you would say, "Up it," you know, and go and walk out and get in your car and leave. Mm-hmm. But because you got a family, that'll make you take it. That'll help you. You'll stay there, and you'll go through what it needs to go through to keep bringing and providing for your family. So, certain things is a want, but that right there is a need. Don't let no man fool you. Every man has to appreciate when he hears that he's being needed in that area. Now, if you don't appreciate him, I promise you, he's going to begin to fall short in that area. Right.
Thank you for sharing that, bro. Curtis said, "I promise you." Not only will he begin to fall short, but that can also create a vulnerability, y'all. In terms of him being open to other people appreciating him. And other people applauding him. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean that he need to take the bait. He shouldn't take the bait. But you also don't want to create any vulnerability. So I don't think that it's a big ask for you to express like appreciation for what it is that he does. And everybody's doing something, I would think, you know, doing something probably. If he's showing up, if he with children, if he giving you hugs, if he, I don't know, giving you whatever. I mean, whatever it may be, like he doing something. Find something to big him up on. Find something. He definitely will appreciate that. Number 4, y'all. I got 2 more points. Number 4. Over time, you know, this right here definitely leads to men feeling unseen. When there's like a slow erosion of connection in a relationship. You know, and the connection can be based off of the fact that the man starts to feel invisible. The man starts to feel like you don't, again, acknowledge, you don't express the appreciation. And sometimes people believe that the relationships break down from like one big blow. Like he steps out or he decides to shut down or he decides to self-isolate based off of something that's big or something catastrophic that's occurred. And that doesn't have to be the case. There's a slow drift that takes place. There's missed moments of connection. There's times in which he attempted to express his thoughts and feelings and you overspoke or you overtalked him. There's times when he actually was vulnerable and you weaponized his vulnerability. There's times in which, you know, he actually leaned into attempting to connect in with you. And what you end up doing is that you become emotionally distant or you become emotionally unavailable or you emotionally avoid him attempting to lean in. And so when we experience this in a relationship, like, again, it starts to lead us to a place where we're questioning our value. But we're questioning whether or not I even have a place. And you don't want your man feeling invisible. And so if there's a drift that's taking place, if there's a disconnect, if there's a slow winding down, and if you know that there are missed moments of connection, and if you know this silent resentment is simmering, if you know that there's some element of emotional avoidance that's present, then these are red flags. The alarm should be going off. And it's not that women only experience it, like men experience it too. And so you want to make sure that you guard against this breakdown. And so some ways in which women may accelerate the breakdown is that you may weaponize your silence, use your silence as punishment. You know, you just stop. I mean, you stonewall. You just stop talking. And that right there is a way in which, like, you know, he feels as though he's unseen because you're not acknowledging his presence. You're not being willing to engage. And so I know some of y'all women might be like, no, I'll be trying to talk. I'll be trying to converse. I'm trying to engage with him. But there are women who just shut down. If that's you, type a 1 in the chat. There are some women who are like not here for it. Like, I'm shutting down. And I'm going to punish you by being quiet. I'm slam cabinet shut, but I ain't talking. That's some of y'all. I know. Because I speak to the women and I talk to y'all about these types of dynamics. And so some women show up that way. Another thing that might accelerate the breakdown is when you start to withhold affection. Type a 1 in the chat if that's you. You start to withhold affection. You stop being kind until he fixes it, until he gets it right. And I'm not talking about something where he may have possibly stepped out. It could be some small stuff, y'all. Small, let me put that in quotation marks. And when you start to withhold affection, that right there accelerates the breakdown. It's important. You know, I've heard men express that I need to feel your touch. Curtis a moment ago spoke about the need around acknowledgement, but some men be expressing like, I need to feel your touch. I need to feel your body. I need to feel your kiss. I need to hold your hand. I need to be close to you. And when y'all get into funky spaces, like these, you know, moments of disconnection, if you're not feeling it, then some of y'all withdraw. And y'all withhold affection. Sometimes y'all withhold respect. Y'all withhold kindness. Y'all withholding everything until he gets it right. And that right there creates it just exacerbates what you got going on in terms of the distance. So you got to fix that. You got to focus on that and you got to fix that and stop doing that, y'all. Another thing which may be a bit controversial is that sometimes what women will do is prioritize kids. You know, you'll focus on your youngins. And so whether it be coaching a team, whether it's like, you know, being heavily involved in school, you know, you always got time for them, but you ain't never got time for me. Or even doing your personal work. How dare you resent me for doing my personal work? Like, if you can read all of the books, if you can read all of the books in the Bible, if you can read the Quran, if you can do all of this personal spiritual work, but you can't do me, where they do that at? I mean, really, where they do that at? You doing all of that, but you ain't doing me. Come on, man. Like, and again, you might get some element of solace and comfort and you know, you might feel a certain level of growth. And I'm speaking about, again, let me qualify this real quick. I'm not talking about spaces in which you definitely need to draw a boundary and you don't need to be doing the do. I'm talking about some of y'all have been in marriages that are in, I mean, you're kind of like in a roommate relationship. So there's a disconnect that's present, but you've made a decision to lean into everything else instead of leaning into your relationship. So I want you to pay attention to that. And again, I want to be clear because there are moments and there are times and there are spaces in which boundaries need to be upheld. They should always be upheld and honored. And so I'm not encouraging women to rush back into relations when your man just, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is you want to make sure that again, if you're withholding affection, intimacy, kindness, respect with the intention to punish, that's problematic. That's problematic. And so you want to do sweat lodges, bubble baths, and go to spa dates and do got all of that stuff down pat. Like you doing all of that. And I salute you and I commend you, but trust and believe, like, he taking notes. You got time for all of that, but you ain't got time for me. I want you to focus on me just like you focus on that stuff. So, again, make sure that you aren't unknowingly contributing to the breakdown in your relationship based off of you using silence as punishment, withholding affection, and prioritizing everything else. Kids, work, personal healing. Make sure you are focusing on me as well. When you don't address like the connection, when you don't pay attention to me, it becomes resentment. And then resentment turns into detachment. And then detachment ends up like showing up in ways in which that extreme disconnect can dismantle the relationship. So be careful when it comes to that, fam. The fifth point. Again, if you're just showing up on here, I'm talking about why your man feels unseen in the relationship. And ladies, I'm hoping that y'all are able to get some value, been able to extract something from what I've lifted up thus far. Again, for the fellas, I'm going to have a Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge happening this week. You can register by going to becomeabetterhusband.com, or you can comment Husband Challenge. Comment Husband Challenge, or DM me Husband Challenge. I want to see y'all fellas in the room. And if you're a wife that's on here, nudge your man. Say, bro, you should, or boo, you should sign up. Sign up and see what he's talking about. Because fellas, we got some work to do. And I want to help you better get your needs met, and help you to better understand your wife as well too. So we're gonna be diving into that this week. All right, number 5. I want to give y'all 3 questions specifically for the men. And you should share these answers that you have with your wife. These are questions that, hopefully, ladies, you all won't weaponize, and you all won't take it for granted, and you all won't try to shut him down, and you won't mock him for him expressing his emotions. It's something that's actually is not that simple. For a lot of people, this is extremely hard. And so, but I'm going to put y'all to the test. So the first question is this. Fellas, if you want to grow in your relationship, again, show up for the husband 5 days to, Become a Better Husband Challenge. That's number 1. But I want you to ask yourself this. When was the last time you felt emotionally connected to your partner? When was the last time that you felt emotionally connected to your partner? For some people, the answer may be sobering. And it's a question that you may not even want the answer to. And so, again, but it's an important question to ask and answer, because that right there can serve as the litmus to see whether or not additional work is needed. What you got to do. And so when was the last time you felt emotionally connected to your partner? It doesn't mean that it's all her responsibility. Fellas, it's also your responsibility too. Like, you got a responsibility to go get the connection, to create it. You got that responsibility as well. The second question is, what do I need but I haven't said out loud? What do I need but I have not said out loud? I mentioned earlier tonight that we as men, a lot of times, suffer in silence. And we got a lot of stuff that's going on internally that we're not necessarily lifting up and bring it to the forefront. And so there's some things that we may need to say. And so what do you need, but you have not said it out loud? You know how you get these conversation cards and stuff like this? These are 3 questions that y'all can actually use today to process, and it can actually increase intimacy. The third question, what part of me have I shut down just to keep the peace? What part of me have I shut down just to keep the peace? I don't want y'all to minimize the significance of a man shutting down. I mean, it's similar to a part of him is dying. A part of him is dying. And so, it's really important that you make room. You make room for him to be able to express and to answer these questions. And fellas, you got to be honest with yourself about what part of you is shut down. Like, do you have certain dreams, ambitions, goals? Is it sex and intimacy? Like, if you just shut that down based off of the way in which your wife has not responded to you in a relationship? Is it just general and overall affection? Has you shut that down as well too? These are important pieces to pay attention to. And so, ladies, your responsibility is you want to make sure that these are ways that you can show up that it can either help or hurt, him when he's doing his processing. The things that you can do to help are to listen without interrupting or trying to fix it. Be curious and not critical. Be curious. Ask more questions. Tell me more about that. You know, why you feel that way? What could I have done differently? What do you need from me? How would you like for that to look? That's what helps. That's what helps. Now, what hurts is you taking his answers personally. Taking them personally and you receiving them as punishment versus insight. And so if you're looking for your man to show his heart, you can't expect him to show you his heart if the last time that he did, he got judged for it. He got criticized for it. He got punished for it. And now you're weaponizing his vulnerability. Like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So, I mean, to sum it all up, y'all, this right here, this is not about blame. It's really about us taking responsibility. And both people play a role when it comes to responsibility in a relationship to elevating the connection. So if there's a connection breakdown, he and she play a part in that. So let me be clear about that. It's not on you, sis. It's not just on you, sis. It's not just on you, bro. You know, it's about both of y'all acknowledging and taking ownership of the fact that you got a responsibility. And when it comes to doing this work, like I'm attempting to help men and women see that it's not about blame. It's not about shame. It's about helping us to understand collectively how we can unintentionally stop adding distance to the emotional gap. That's why I'm doing this Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge. I want us to stop adding distance to the emotional gap. I want us to regain connection, regain intimacy, restore the vibrancy that was in a relationship, or rekindle something that has been dead, dying, or just put out for an extended period of time. Like, you can get that back. Fellas, I want y'all to be heard. I want you to be respected. I want you to feel seen. I want you to feel valued. I want you to be able to express yourself without shutting down. I want you to be able to communicate what your needs are. This is what the Become a Better Husband 5-day challenge is about. And so we got work to do as men. Ladies, y'all got work to do as well, too. And if you put yourself in a position in which you're willing to do the work, then not just put yourself in a position to be willing, but then you also do it, then that's when you grow. Is it going to be easy? No. Is it possible? Yes. I'm a living witness, and I know a number of brothers, a number of sisters who have actually done the same thing too. So put yourself in position, fam. Comment husband challenge if you're a man that's on this. If you're a wife and you're watching this, send this to your man. Tell him to comment husband challenge, or tell him to go to becomeabetterhusband.com. I got the 5-day Become a Better Husband challenge happening next week. I want to see him in the room. We also got a Become a Better Wife challenge coming up too. So my wife, she'll be dropping a link for that soon, probably tomorrow or something. So, you know, we trying to, you know, elevate and individually, but also collectively. So you got to do your work. Got to do your work, and we all got to do our work. So again, join me tomorrow. Any questions? Blamily, I want to make sure I make room for you, fellas. Y'all want to add anything else to what I mentioned? I want to make sure I make space for y'all. If y'all want to add anything else, then if I miss something, blamily, you know, make sure you, just raise your hand and I'll bring you forward. And ladies, I'll make space for you for a moment to ask questions, blamily members, to ask questions, and then I'll, reply. Or maybe some of the other fellas might want to reply. But if there are no questions, then we can go ahead and put a pin in it. I appreciate you, IG, for showing up. TikTok, I appreciate you too. YouTube, I appreciate you as well for showing up. And I don't see any hands going up. So I just want to say thank you all for showing up, engaging, participating in this. It's definitely been a blessing. And I look forward to seeing y'all fellas tomorrow in the challenge. Again, becomeabetterhusband.com. That's where you can sign up. I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. All right, fam. Y'all take care. Peace. All right, IG. on TikTok. Peace out, y'all.